I'll start straight away with you, Regie. Now, you spoke about cloud. Yeah. And it's a no-brainer. I mean, from the time I was in IT, we've been talking about cloud that now I've been 5 years since I retired, maybe 10 years before that. And software-defined infrastructure. I mean, it's a highly programmable, we all understand. Now, in fact, Gartner said in 2018, they said by 2023, SDI, software-defined infrastructure, will be considered a key requirement of 85% of the largest global enterprises, up from 40%. So that's more than double. How is the take-up of software-defined infrastructure in this country and cloud? I personally think it's been poor, but I may be wrong. But tell me, what is the take-up of active data center, cloud-based data centers and SDI in the enterprises in Sri Lanka? And if the take-up is not that great, why? What is stopping us?
Yeah, Peter. So we see sort of a transformation, so especially with the finance industry and the telco industry. So they already transformed to a software-defined concept, right? Okay. So not only private customers, even our service providers. So they set cloud platforms, especially the two large service providers, in a completely on SDDC, able to provide a sort of a public cloud capabilities, right? And some of our customers, I would say one of the large bank and few other banks, so they are in a roadmap of setting up the similar platform in their infrastructure to put a footprint to initiate the hybrid cloud, right? So how they start is, so our concept is bringing a consistent infrastructure between the customer data center to all the hyperscalers in the service provider clouds, right? So customer starts with a complete SDDC data center, so which can bring the cloud capabilities. So the customer, they serve them as a on cloud provider for them, right? So that's an initial step. So from there, the infrastructure is a consistent between their data center to the service provider cloud or the hyperscaler cloud. So they can...
I understand the way it works. My question was, what is stopping a faster adoption? I find that the adoption rate is quite poor. So what is stopping it? Because I'd like IT folks here to understand what is stopping, why is it not being rapidly, because it's a no-brainer, you know. Anything that you see is, it's, you know, there's roadmaps and what's going on, you know.
Yeah, so I think I can re-endorse as Mr. Kithsiri said.
Is it
so
that your technology is so complex that they don't understand it?
People see this as a complex, so some people, they don't want to transform, right? So they wanted to stick to the same infrastructure.
Which leads me to, Varuna, your point. Now, you did say that these gentlemen here have to drive the transformation, but, I mean, let's face it, how much do our management and boards understand? Because you see, if they don't understand that it's the business that drives the need to transform, not the other way around, not for the IT to say, you know what, we need to transform, but rather work closely with business, have those conversations. But I find, even from my experience, that the management and boards of large companies and banks, they just subcontract IT to the IT department, and they're not engaged in this conversation. So, would you like to share some experience? Otherwise, it'd be very difficult for these gentlemen to go and talk to them. They'll say, you know, we have no time for this, because they actually don't have time for them. You know?
Yeah, basically, Peter, like coming to software defined, like as you very specifically brought in the subject, as well as Regie, we need to ask the question. You're asking why it is not being adapted in a faster manner.
Yes.
Right? There are a few things that I see, right? One of the things is the connectivity of the business to the IT. If the business, when I say the dynamics of the business is not connected to the IT.
Yes.
As an example, the beauty of software defined is whether it is software defined infrastructure, software defined DevOps, Kubernetes, microservices and all that, is providing dynamism and the best of the resources to the business. If you take a software development company, the simplest example, they get multiple projects. They need to do a lot of development work, testing purposes and all that. A typical software development company would have thousands of virtual entities running. Per day, they would be spinning up 500, taking down another 500 per day. So that's a business requirement. When it gets transformed to other businesses, say banking or manufacturing and so on and so forth, one of the missing factors, Peter, is, say, for the banks to go forward, robotic process automation, adaptation of artificial intelligence, mining data, coming with truthful answers from data, understanding customers, all these business functions has to be brought up. If these business functions are being brought up to the forefront, it's very natural these business functions are supported by software defined.
That's precisely my point. So
right.
Why is there, are we part of the problem? Are we as technology companies part of this problem? Is it that we are talking jargon to the IT and not addressing bank managers, boards in a very simple way to show them examples of how this can actually transform their business? Because they are looking at traditional ways of, increasing interest rates, and, banks is another story. Banks don't need to do anything because they'll make money anyway. Because in Sri Lanka, we have a huge spread between interest rates, borrowing and lending. So you can just show up at work and you'll make money. So that's a different point. But the others are challenged. Is it that as IT companies, we are part of the problem, that we are selling too much technology rather than talking to the business and saying, hey, let's take examples of whatever, you took examples and show them so that you don't have to use words like SDI and all of that. That's the solution. Are we the problem? I'm going to come to you next, Asela. I know you're very impatient to answer this question, but go ahead. You want to say something quickly before?
Yes, Peter, we are part of the problem. Right. As vendors, as well as IT professionals. So it is a practice that we need to build. Right. So when any one of the customers do talk to me, they talk about a project. I want to buy 10 servers, I want to buy a vSAN or a storage and networking and so on.
That's right.
My first response is, what is your business?
That's right.
How much is your business interlocked into this project?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Usually what I do is it is my responsibility. I learn customers' business before I talk to them.
Yeah.
So this is a part that we have to play. We need to serve the business as well as drive towards the business that IT is to run your business, not to run a project.
That's right.
Not to run hardware or software.
That's right.
I will.
Yes, Asela, before you answer that question, you can add to that. Mike, I also got another question about data. I mean, how much do our companies use data today? I mean, they really don't know. Take the banks again. I mean, 10 years ago, we told a couple of banks, that we could use data to tell them with 75% accuracy about how we can say who are the most likely people to go for a credit card in the next 3 months. Now, still today, banks will have outsourced that, and you'll have somebody calling you and saying, "Make credit card ekak tiyanawada?" Then you scold him, you remember his mother also, and say, "Yako, mata card ekak tiyanawa bang, bala monada?" This drama goes on. So what is stopping companies to use data?
The answer to both of those questions.
Understand, customers. I mean, there's so much that... Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'd like to take from where Varuna left off.
Yes,
I think
please.
Varuna, being a consummate IT professional, he's been very diplomatic.
Yes.
I'll be less.
Go for it.
My view,
yes,
there is a communication disconnect with IT. Granted, because we talk a different language. I've grown up with IT. We've worked with IT extensively. We have a communication gap. But also, and this is not me saying it, the Sri Lanka Institute of Directors, in fact, did a survey. They found that when boards are far more IT savvy, the profitability of those companies are significantly higher than boards that are laggards. So you know where the problem is. Unfortunately, boards, the structure of it, is heavy with a certain skill set, which is fine. But however, when we are in the cusp of a transformation, when we have AI knocking at our door, when we have the world's businesses transforming, how they do businesses transforming, we cannot look at the problem the same way. Unfortunately, these gentlemen in the board sometimes, no, taking nothing away from doctor, they look at the problem still in a very archaic way. Which is why our friends in IT cannot come forward and give the solution, cannot come forward and do the transformation. The gentleman said, we are viewed as a cost center. I felt that. I'm sure all of you would have gone in front of management, would have gone in front of the board and struggled to make your point across that why you need these things. Varuna, I'm sure, just a basic upgrade sometimes. Yet we struggle because the board does not have the depth to understand why we need to do this. However, they go abroad, they meet their global peers, they see them doing certain things, they come back, they want to do AI. And they go to their IT teams and say, we want to do AI. Now, how can you do AI? Because I'm sure most of you will have this pain point. How can you do that? You can't. Because your infrastructure, the architecture, the way you go about it, does not support that.
And more than that, what is AI? What do you mean
What do you
by
mean
that
by,
question?
I mean,
AI to do what? You know?
Peter, this has been discussed. Boards have called IT teams and said, we want to do AI.
Yeah.
We want to do
Yeah.
ChatGPT now. Now, how are these poor chaps going to do that? Because they know the challenges they have. They know the budgetary constraints they have. Granted the language, let's forget that. But the board needs to be having a firm view of IT. My view is there should be technologists in the board. Not only one subject matter expert, the board as a whole.
But sometimes I find those technologists think that they know it all.
Agree,
You have that
granted.
danger. Rather than have technologists, I'm just thinking maybe you should have members who understand the power of IT and then ask questions
Which is
without
my
trying to
second
get too
point.
smart. Because I've seen members on boards, I'm the...
That is also
IT,
dangerous. One person knowing IT is dangerous.
He is the one who makes the decision and
So
the
he
board
will
says,
be
my
put in
God.
charge.
Yeah.
Doctor, I'm sure you have enough more experience. He will be put in charge of the IT committee. He will be in charge of the risk committee.
That's
Then he will be called.
They subcontract that to him.
No. It's a collective responsibility. This is why there are certain things that have happened now in terms of data, since you touched on it. The Personal Data Protection Act places the responsibility with the board squarely in terms of ensuring the protection of that data. Now, I don't know, our friends in IT will know how much people are conscientious of this responsibility. So the change must come from the top.
Yeah. Thank you.